Hey everyone. I hope everybody's having a great week. Um, there's not a lot of news going on, but I was just kind of glancing through some of the more watched online or more YouTube focused. Um, kind of, I would say they're center. Some of them are definitely left and don't try to hide it. But what a lot of people watch. I was kind of like just jumping into them, and I was just like, as always, spotting trends and the coverage that creates the perception of an issue versus actually being newsworthy content. Um, I always start with breaking points because I just find them hysterical. They like to say that Emily and Sagar are on the right, and Crystal and Ryan are on the left. I would say that Crystal and Ryan are far left. They aren't traditional Democrats. They are progressives slash the quintessential supporters of, say, DSA candidates, wealthy individuals that have nothing to lose by having a DSA candidate go into power because they are outside of the bubble that would be affected directly by any of the incredibly bad policies that the DSA wants to put out there. But they'll feel good supporting a DSA candidate. And then there's Emily and Sagar, and I would say that Sagar is slowly like shifting outside of the current Overton window of the right to the left. And Emily is just trying to play both sides of the fence all the time. She doesn't actually give her opinion about things. She asks others to give their opinions and covers their stuff, but doesn't really give her opinion. She comes across like she might be just right of center, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to read. But at any rate, I'm just going to scroll through content from some channels to see if you see some themes here. So today we've got Israel and Palestine, but more specific, Israel. We've got Iran. We've got Israel. We've got Iran. We've got fear of the market collapse, whatever. We've got, a little bit of DSA. Then we've got Iran. Then we've got uh, economy panic. And then we've got Iran. And then we have Iran. And then we have uh, Israel over genocide. We continue to go Iran, Iran, Iran. As we go down, we get Israel, we get AI fear mongering, we get Iran, we get, as we look through, we get Israel, we get a little bit of DSA, we get Israel, we get John Stewart, who talks about Iran and Israel. We get APAC, which is more Jew aligned or Jewish aligned, but is also would fall in the Israel camp. We have DSA. We've got uh, Barry Weiss, which is constantly aligned with Israel's support. So a lot of negative coverage on Barry Weiss. We've got Iran. He lost the war. We've got Air Force One, which is directly correlated to Iran. We've got Israel. We've got DSA. We've got Iran. We've got DSA. We've got Israel. We've got, and again, you can continue to go through here and see the trend. Talking about Israel, talking about Jews that support Israel, talking about Iran, and talking about DSA. Like that is really what you can kind of ratchet or kind of focus in on, like what I should say Breaking Points is kind of focused in on. And then, of course, anything that makes Trump look bad. But I actually did a grok on how much Breaking Points covers more specifically Israel and Jews that support Israel, it is astonishing. Then we have Awaken JP, who got his start making actually pretty good content. I've talked about this before. Making good content and actually being legitimately funny, who has just fallen off. He's gone down the very similar path that some of these other people that latched on to kind of the right movement, the right media movement, like these people have now shifted to like the Tucker Carlson direction, which is actively working against Trump, the Trump administration, and the broader objectives of the Trump administration, whether it be foreign policy, whether it be immigration, whether it be the economy, whether it be oil production, like all this stuff, they're actually working against right now, which I just find very interesting. But if we look at JP's content, we've got Israel, we've got Israel, we've got Israel, we have Iran, we have, as we scroll down, we've got conspiracy theories about Tyler Robinson. We've got him hating on arguably one of the most influential Jews on the right over Iran. We've got Iran. And again, we just continue to go down. Jared Kushner, in relation to his work on Iran and Israel. We've got, Israel. We've got Israel. We've got Israel. We've got Israel. We have Thomas Massey, who's going to talk about AIPAC. We've got Israel. I mean, it's just shocking, like how much of a turn like JP has taken. And again, like his entire commentary, like all of this isn't focused on anybody on the left. It's all attacking people on the right. He thinks he's being funny. He's not. Since he and his wife, I think, separated, his content has shifted dramatically. But you'll notice as you go through here, it's a lot of Israel, like a lot of Israel, and a lot of anti-Trump. And so just interesting to note, Glenn Greenwald, just going through here, right off the bat, Israel. Second, Israel, because it's about Palestine. We've got Barry Weiss, which is Israel adjacent. We've got Israel. We've got, Israel, because we're talking about the IDF. Again, you can scroll through here and the amount of coverage of Israel and then Iran as well. And it's usually like in the framing for Iran is like Iran is winning, as if Iran is in any way winning this bombing campaign. I just find it very interesting. But again, you just scroll through, you got Miriam Adelson, which is US Jew, Israel adjacent because of her support for AIPAC. We have Israel. We've got Israel, because it's all about Benjamin Netanyahu. We've got Barry Weiss and the Ellisons, which is like double Jew. I mean, like, it's just very interesting looking through the content that people are building on and that they seem to be focused on, like an undue amount of attention specifically to Israel. And the only thing that I can see, because when I'm out in the wild, like people aren't talking about Israel online. There's a lot of conversation around Israel, but that is almost exclusively online. And even when I dive into the comments in other people's X posts, I just go look at the people that are like calling people Zionists and all this other stuff. And I just look at that and I look at where they're from. And like 9 times out of 10, they're not from the US. They're from the Middle East, they're from Canada, they're from Australia. They're like all these random ass accounts that are out there. But they're not US, which again, I just find very interesting given that these are US individuals. Even though Glenn Greenwald lives in Brazil, he's still a US citizen. covering Israel a lot. Kim Iverson is about Jews, Israel, Iran, and just conspiracy smorgasbord of stuff. I mean, we've got essentially she's talking about the fact that Dan Bilzerian lost to, it was basically anti-APAC versus pro-APAC. Honestly, who cares? APAC is amongst many different PACs that are out there that provide lobbying, or that do lobbying on behalf of other countries. APAC is not the biggest spender. I've talked about this in other videos, but we've got Israel, we've got conspiracy theory, conspiracy theory, conspiracy theory, you know, Fauci, which is actually something that we all at one time agreed upon, which was content that was actually much better. But that's not getting the clicks these days. So, you know, it's got to go towards the conspiracy rabbit hole, Israel, the Jews, again, Israel. I mean, this stuff is just, I don't understand the outsized focus on Israel. There is literally no reason. Again, I've done videos on which countries spend the most in foreign lobbying. Israel is, I think, the bottom of, barely in the top 10. China, number one. There's other countries that you probably wouldn't think of that are also in there, that make up the bulk of the lobbying, the foreign lobbying. And then you look at PACs. And so there's a lot of focus on APAC. And again, APAC is not the biggest donor from PACs. And even like when APAC is paired with other PACs or other donors, they make up another PAC. Like that PAC is still not the largest donor to campaigns in the US. So like the outsized, like, yes, there's foreign influence in our elections. Is Israel the biggest one? No. Is APAC the biggest one? No. And so like, I just find this focus like super interesting. Now, Jimmy Dore, on the other hand, seems to have just gone full into Tyler Robinson conspiracy theory land, and is just going after it constantly. Military drone killed Kirk, new evidence. Sure, Jimmy, sure. And again, you can just scroll down and it's assassination conspiracy theories, defending Candace Owens, defending Candace Owens, defending Candace Owens, and creating conspiracy theories. Again, Joe Kent is a POS, in my personal opinion. And again, you can go through here and it's just conspiracy theory about Charlie Kirk after conspiracy theory about Charlie Kirk. It is absolutely ridiculous, with a little sprinkling of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu and conspiracy theories around that. I mean, like, my thing about making content, whether or not the people, all of you that are watching it and like are enjoying it, like, I make content of things that I find interesting. I don't follow trends. I'm not looking up, what's selling. I'm not trying to create fake drama. And like, I just, like in this case, I'm just looking at accounts and seeing how they're both kind of creating content that is clickable and creating creating images or placeholder images that are like clickbait worthy. And ultimately, they're not adding anything to the broader conversation. They're not adding any value. They're just continuing to push conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory and a whole bunch of anti-Israel stuff. Like, again, the anti-Israel stuff, and again, I will say this off the top, I do not give any Fs about Israel. I am concerned about foreign influence in our elections. Am I exclusively focused on Israel as one of those? No, because there are others that, again, contribute significantly more. And when we look at foreign spending by the US, right now, Ukraine is getting more spending than nearly anybody else. And for some reason, all we can talk about is Israel. I have a problem with all foreign spending. Um, that's just my take. I don't like it when we spend money outside of the US when we could be using it in the US. Now, when it comes to selling weapons, they're buying weapons and they're giving us cash, and there's all that stuff. So there is an incentive for us to want to do it as long as we're taking in money and we're not just giving things for free. But if anybody's seen the drone videos coming out of the front lines with Ukrainian drones chasing down unarmed Russian soldiers, or Ukrainian drones hitting what are being defined as multi-purpose facilities. They basically hit the Amazon equivalent, which is Wildberries warehouse, saying it's dual purpose. They're hitting civilian infrastructure. Nobody's talking about that. And that information, or a lot of those weapons are being provided by the U.S. All people can be focused on is Israel, and like what's happening in Israel. Like if people were up in arms about the Ukraine as much as they were about Israel, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I agree with you. Like both of these things are bad, but Israel by itself, um, don't care. Ukraine generally don't care. All I care about is whether or not we're spending money there, and whether or not we're actually way more involved in these areas or these regions than it would seem to be. And for a fact, I know that we are heavily involved in the Ukraine regarding CIA assets and State Department assets on the ground there, providing intelligence. We have military units there that are doing reconnaissance. I mean, the same thing, could be said about what's happening in Iran. Even though we say we don't have boots on the ground, we do to a certain extent because we do have special forces there that are doing reconnaissance and doing other things. That's ultimately, we had a crew on the ground when we had a pilot down. Yeah. So just in general, the outsized focus on Israel is kind of ridiculous. I will give it up to TYT. At least they can just even out their coverage of conspiracy wackadoodle BS, Israel, and other things. Like just scrolling through, it's like, all right, Lindsey Graham's sister did have apparently a bad debate performance when it came to foreign policy. Um, yeah, Candace Owens. Okay, that's conspiracy theory land. We've got them covering the Trump girls comments. Um, yeah, actually, I think that was in defense of Natalie Harp. I mean, again, a little bit of coverage of Candace talking about the economy, talking about Iran, talking about, a whole host of issues. You got Israel sprinkled in there a little bit because you gotta have that if you're talking news on the left. Again, a little bit of Israel, but it's not nearly as much. Well, I will say, at least when it comes to others outside of Cenk. Cenk enjoys talking about Israel. I think he just generally hates Jews, and it just suits him well. But at any rate, the coverage here seems to be a lot more balanced, which is unfortunate. I am not a regular viewer of TYT. Occasionally, I might see something that catches my eye and I might watch it. But generally speaking, I tend to stay away. Um, Again, I tend to watch The Hill Rising. I tend to follow some other more honest brokers of news commentary and foreign policy in general. I tend to watch people who are relative experts in the field in which they're covering, um, whether it is specific military tactics, whether it is, um, I would say when it comes to the economy, when it comes to like, I'm always looking for the people that have been right more than they've been wrong. And then I take in what they say. Um, I then do research on it to see like something they said seemed a little off. Is it actually true? And I tend to go that route. But I can't waste my time with like these sources anymore. I used to be a big Glenn Greenwald fan, and prior to the 2024 election, like he was spot on. But he's just fallen off. Like he's absolutely fallen off. Like IDS is really derangement syndrome or Israel derangement syndrome, or you could say Benjamin Netanyahu derangement syndrome is like a real thing, very similar to Trump TDS, like TDS. It's like once people enter that, it's very difficult to come out, and it's also very difficult to realize that you're even in it to begin with because you think that what the news coverage that you're doing is worth it because you're getting a lot of views, but those views aren't necessarily in the US. And so you're catering to a foreign audience. Um, I will say I'm very interested as kind of the war in Gaza kind of ramps down and we just kind of slap around Netanyahu and say, listen, this war is over. What are all of these people going to do with coverage? My guess is like the coverage from before is that they're going to go down swinging the entire time saying that this whatever peace is negotiated there with Hamas is not real and that it's bad for the Palestinians and this, that, and the other. And they're going to continue to have this negative coverage, even though the war will have been over and rebuilding will have begun and the genocide is no longer happening. Like I just, at any rate, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Do you think the oversized or the outsized coverage in Israel is warranted? Or Benjamin Netanyahu or AIPAC or Jews that are adjacent to AIPAC or Israel? What do you think? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, keep believing that the best is still ahead for America. Peace out.